porque eres lo que escuchas. Esto es Rockero.net.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're right here in a very unique and a great opportunity, in a very beautiful moment where we have a great band, a great singer, and I proudly say this, an American talent. I introduce to you Mr. Neil Fallon, the singer, guitarist from Clutch. How are you, Neil?
I'm very well. How are you?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for giving us an opportunity to share what's happening right now with your great band Clutch and what you're doing and all these great things that are happening right now with the American talent. Can you tell us right now what's happening with Clutch? What's happening right now?
Well, at this particular moment, we're in Las Vegas. We've got a show tonight in support of our new record that came out last week. It's called Earth Rocker, and we put it out on our own label, Weathermaker Music. And we're going to be on tour supporting this record for the rest of the year, more or less. We'll take breaks, but we know what we're doing until the New Year's.
Okay, now, it's very easy to say, but right now, correct me if I'm wrong, right now you're celebrating your 10th album, correct?
Yes.
How hard has it been to survive in these times with a rock and roll band doing what you do?
Well, we love playing rock and roll live, so it's taken us to great places that we never thought. It's also gotten us through bad times, and that was one thing that could never be taken away from us. You know, even when we got dropped from labels, we didn't stop being musicians, and we didn't stop being friends. I think one thing that's benefited us is we always consider ourselves students. You know, no matter how long we do it, we trying to learn more, and we're a Clutch record always sounds like Clutch, but we want to always try to do something a little different and challenge ourselves, and I think Clutch fans dig that. And some people, bemoan the fact that, file sharing killed the record industry. But the way I look at it is because of that, it allows bands like Clutch that we're not for everybody. We have a niche audience, but because of the internet, fans can find us and we can find them. And we don't have to sell millions of records to survive. We can sell less records, sell them directly to fans, and do it full time. And I think that's a great spot to be in.
One thing that I really, really like about Clutch is your voice, because your voice is so unique and powerful. And I say that because the first time I got to hear Clutch, I was blown away. And I wanted to see what influences do you use, or do you think you might naturally have in order to do what you love to do?
Well, if you listen to the first Clutch material, it doesn't really sound like me. And I think we were much more rooted in hardcore and punk, and there was a lot more screaming going on, and I thought melody was commercial, and that was kind of naive. But I think I slowly taught myself, how to sing a little bit. But I always knew I wasn't, of the Robert Plant or Marriott school of singing. So I kind of gravitated towards people like Tom Waits, or even, some hip hop acts like Chuck D. And I also concentrated more on what I was saying as opposed to how I was saying it. I listen to a lot of old blues too, and I think like Howlin' Wolf, and it's not a choir boy voice, but I think there's beauty in that kind of sincerity. Things are perfect; it's kind of boring, so I just kind of go for it and see what happens.
Well, personally, from my point of view, I see you like a Barry White, very powerful. And anything you do with that voice and the way you do it, I congratulate you, because first of all, of course you do rock and roll and blues, but you have this real mystic way of doing it. And you know what? I want to thank you for that. And before you start playing, before you start unleashing, what's your train of thought in order to get where you want to?
Well, usually an hour before a show, then I just kind of shut everything out and stop talking to people. And we write a different set list every night, and I look through that. And then do vocal warm-ups from about half an hour prior to showtime, which I didn't used to do up until, maybe about a year ago. because it's like just like I realize it's a muscle. You got to warm it up before you exercise, and sing a little bit, and then just go out there and I still get nervous before shows, but I think that's a good thing. I think if you're too comfortable, you can get lazy and start daydreaming. But I think the fear, not fear, but the nerves give me an adrenaline rush. And just try to focus on, and I always keep in mind that there's probably some young kid who's never saw Clutch before. And this is our one and only chance to make that impression. Even though we do this every night for 20 years, I try to treat it as like it's the first and last time we've done it.
Amazing. I love that because you worry about that one person. That's very cool. I was going to ask you, if you had an opportunity to share a dream with another rock and roll icon or another band, who would that be? Something that you've dreamed about? Because you're doing real good, and I'm sure we could do that. But something like that.
I guess it wouldn't be so much performing with artists, but maybe just having conversations with people that I would consider mentors, like Tom Waits. Or Nick Cave, or Leonard Cohen, or Bob Dylan. Not necessarily people that are from my rock world, because I hang out with these guys all the time, and I think it's more informative to talk to someone who's coming a bit from left field. And those are some of my favorite songwriters. And I don't think you can ask anybody, what's your secret? Because there are no secrets. Mm-hmm. If you were going to learn anything, it would be from a simple conversation. Like that movie Coffee and Cigarettes. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's just conversations between people, and that is pretty educational, I think.
Right now, from the 702news.com, what we do is we look for always a great talent, and we try to put that where the perspective where it's going. Now, what future do you see right now with rock and roll, Neil, since right now we're here at the Hard Rock Cafe and you guys are about to play? What future do you see? Because you talked a little while ago about the power of the internet. But what do you see right now?
Well, I see the pros and cons of it all. I have a kind of a romantic nostalgia for when rock and roll was very dangerous and was forbidden and it was a big threat. Now it's everywhere. Now we're in a place called Hard Rock Cafe, and it's become very accessible. And on one hand, that's great that a kid can buy a guitar cheaply and see a band on his computer and learn how to play from YouTube. But it's almost an embarrassment of riches. And I think it's important to always keep in mind that this is something that is fragile, and there's still places in this world where it's forbidden. And even though we have it so easy, it's important to not take it for granted. One thing I do notice, I'm glad we're not a band growing up now, because there's so many of them, and it seems like it'd be easy to get lost in the shuffle. And bands nowadays have to go out and play. Getting a Facebook page up and how many likes you have does not make a band. It's getting on stage. And I get really irritated when I hear bands complain about, no, now we have to play because we can't sell records. Well, you know what? Live music is tens and tens of thousands of years old. Records, they're brand new, but they've come and gone. This is something new. So I guess it's a spiritual thing. When we participate in performing music, you're doing something that our ancestors did for hundreds of thousands of years. And to me, maybe it's because I'm getting older, I think about these kinds of things. And I appreciate it more. And rock and roll is just one way to do that.
Wow. Thank you, Neil. I really appreciate that you sharing us a little of your insight on that, because that says a lot about your character, a lot about what's coming up, and a lot about music, the passion of music. I want to thank you, sir, first of all, for doing what you're doing, and at the same time sharing it, and we'll do our best to put out the word to pay it forward like you're doing it right now. But I just want to thank you, because it's very cool when you have a sincere talk with a great person, a young person with all his heart in front, and he's ready to put it out there. Thank you very much, man.
And it's fun. It's not digging ditches.
Well, again,
¿Qué es lo que escuchas? Esto es Rockero.net.